So, very interesting video today. So as you all see me reacting to a lot of political videos the last year and a half, it's kind of interesting, guys. I've been on a journey of self-development and empowerment, okay, off the internet. Because being red-pilled, you know, from the internet is quite interesting. A lot of people would call it bad, good, bad, you know, right-wing, you might become leftist, Marxist, whatever the case may be, guys. It's interesting to see new information at a different light, okay? Now, in 2016, it used to be everybody hates Trump. Now in 2024, everybody loves Trump in America. So it's very interesting to see the kind of switch. Obviously, today we're going to be reacting to a guy who red-pilled himself, okay? I think a lot of people, you know, in 2023, 2024, definitely in 2025 with a huge year, they're going to see a lot of people red-pilled, a lot of people becoming more conservative, more whatever issue, you know, voting left, like Sinn Féin in Ireland, stuff like that. It's going to be an interesting year for it. Today we have Xaviaer DuRousseau, how I accidentally red-pilled myself. This one's going to be interesting. 5.1 million views. I think a lot of people got red-pilled last year. Definitely myself. Like, definitely you kind of open up and see, oh, what the hell is going on in this world. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Drop a comment down below and let's get it, bro.
I was going to make a series debunking PragerU videos, and one by one, I unintentionally dismantled the entire narrative that I was indoctrinated with, or in other words, I accidentally red-pilled myself.
Yeah, getting red-pilled basically means that you're not under any sort of brainwashing, propaganda, or, you know, indoctrination anymore. Okay, you've basically freed yourself from the chains of this sort of matrix, as we call it.
My name is Xaviaer DuRousseau, and this is my story.
At least I pronounced his name correctly.
So I was born in one of the roughest neighborhoods of Southside Chicago. I always describe it as like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but backwards, where my eldest brother got in trouble. So my mom got scared and got our whole family together, and we moved to the middle of nowhere cornfields in central Illinois. At the time, it was roughly 95% white. So it was a big culture shock for my family, but I'm grateful that I grew up there because there were great schools, there was low crime, but instead of being taught to appreciate that, I was always told to hyper-focus on the difference between myself as a black kid versus all the white kids around me. My mom, she didn't grow up around white people, so when she would tell me things like, oh, you need to be careful, if things hit the fan, then they're just gonna view you as that black guy, he did it. It wasn't out of hate, it was out of her genuinely trying to protect me. My dad, on the other hand, was a bit more radical in his beliefs on race. He was often very spiteful towards white people and often telling me things that I needed to be protected from white people. Certain people in my family would say that white people were always out to get me.
Oh, I'm not out to get anybody, guys, personally. I love everyone. Well, actually, I hate a lot of people, but I love people that, you know, can relate to me and we get along. You know what I mean? Nothing to do with color or shit like that. But yeah, it's kind of funny, guys. Some people do view that kind of stuff like that, unfortunately. It could be, you know, because of past experiences, because people have had past experiences being called names growing up in America. They had segregation and shit like that. So definitely, you know, you can get an influence a long time ago. But in 2024, you know, people are pretty cut and dry with, you know, how we view other people, you know.
That message had a big impact on my self-image. I felt like it was very difficult for me to figure out who I was as a person. I felt like I was too black to be around the white kids, and then I would spend my summers or weekends in Chicago, and it was like I was too white for the black kids. I would be made fun of for the way I spoke or my upbringing. They would say I was talking or acting white. So the old—
Bro, it's funny because when I was in school, people used to say to me, Chris, you're acting like this black gangster from the hood. And I'm like, what? I just like rap music, you know what I mean? I speak like regularly the same as everybody else, but people try and find a certain thing about you to bring you down. You know, and this is the thing, guys. If you have interests, if you're better than other people, they're gonna try and bring you down in certain ways, you know. Or if you're perceived by women that they like you or whatever, people are gonna try and bring you down in a certain way, guys. It's unfortunate, but that's how it goes, you know.
The older I got, the more I felt like I needed to root my entire identity in my skin color. I wanted to be around more culture because at this point I was truly in this belief that my skin color was always going to be everything. So I wanted to be around liberals and diversity and inclusion. So I moved to California. At that point,
that was your first mistake. No moving to California. Oh, hell no. You got to move to Florida, Miami,
My life, I was very angry and I was very lost because I didn't know who I was. So between 2018 to 2020, I was just social media advocating for BLM, trying to raise awareness and teach other people why being more woke was essential for the community. By 2020, that's when things started to definitely take a turn. I was bored during the pandemic and I applied to be on this really popular reality show where I was typecast as a virtual BLM activist, where I taught people how to be an ally and an advocate for BLM. That was right after everything happened with George Floyd. And marching for George Floyd was actually the first time I started to see behind the curtain of what BLM actually was. One of the first things that alarmed me about the BLM protests were, of course, the looting and the rioting. I was always against that. I didn't understand the premise of it. I didn't understand the reasoning for it. And it just seemed so hateful and violent and like it was against everything that MLK stood for. And I would ask people questions of, why are there people destroying Black communities in the name of Black civil rights justice? But no one wanted to have that conversation. So I started...
This is, the thing is, there's nothing wrong inherently with movements like BLM or like LG, you guys know LGT, whatever. There's nothing wrong with these movements at all, in my personal opinion. My personal opinion is what happens to the logical conclusion. So like, then they have rioting, and then the LG stuff, they have like, pushing bad stuff, on kids. And it's just like, eventually the start of it is good. Everybody wants equal rights and, rights for everybody. Like, nobody's going to be against that. The problem is what happens is you start to, the logical conclusion of that eventually, and this is coming from people that are, in those movements. I know people that, supported that and stuff. They don't support it anymore because eventually it's like, good in the beginning, the first few years, but then people just lose their way. They start rioting or they start whatever, taking the money and using it for their own personal benefit, like the leaders of these movements, and it gets unethical real quick, which is unfortunate. If it was to stay ethical, there would be no problem, right? But it's just that the ethics behind some of the movements are just not good, obviously,
Becoming more open-minded to looking at counter arguments and looking at alternative content that oppose the BLM beliefs. And I accidentally stumbled upon a Candace Owens video.
Candace Owens definitely red pills a lot of people.
That made me so unbelievably, ridiculously mad because she was right. That's when things started to definitely take a turn. So in spite of her, I decided I was going to become a pro debater. And that's when I found
pro masturbator
more of PragerU's videos. And I started listing out different videos, different talking points, topics from PragerU videos. And I planned in my mind that I was going to make a series debunking PragerU videos. And one by one, I unintentionally dismantled the entire narrative that I was indoctrinated with. Or in other words, I accidentally red-pilled myself. People always ask me, what was your red pill moment? But for me, it was like an entire prescription pill bottle of red pills, because just over and over, I was like, well, don't believe that anymore. Don't believe that anymore.
That's kind of how it is, guys. Like most people, I was indoctrinated by veganism, and I did that for a few years, and it's okay. It's ethically correct. But when you start to get down to the nuts and bolts, it's more of a, your government is trying to take meat off you. And it's a whole thing, guys. I don't really agree with the shit anymore, personally. It's a whole just like bullshit idea of veganism.
I would say it started with learning just how fraudulent the statistics were about police brutality. I was under this impression that Black people were just being hunted down every single day by police officers. And I ended up learning that it was a very small, minute amount of unarmed Black people who were being shot and killed by police. And when I'm around police officers, I feel so safe. Police officers love me because I mind my business. I don't break the law. I don't have to worry about the police officers targeting me, because that's not what they're here to do. Yes, here and there might be a bad police officer, and those are the people who do need to be held accountable. But the majority of people who become police officers are doing so because they're so passionate about protecting people, about empowering the community. So why would we remove these people and defund them when they're the ones that we call when we need help the most? And why aren't we talking about the selectivity and Black lives that matter? Because nobody ever wanted to have the discussion of Black on Black crimes. And that was a problem that nobody had any proper answers for me about, other than to say, oh, you can't talk about Black on Black crime. It's just crime. But if we're going to talk about Black death, let's talk about where most of it is coming from. It's coming from murder and it's coming from abortion. So it was around October of 2020 where I was still in the process, days before flying out for this reality show, to be a BLM activist, and I finally just backed out. I couldn't do it. I knew that it wasn't what I believed in, and I just couldn't go on there and portray this lie. So when I jumped into the conservative movement, I expected a lot of people to turn their backs on me, and quite a few people did. And when people ask me, did you lose friends? I don't consider those friends that I lost, because a real true friend wouldn't care that you have slightly different ideologies.
Yeah, that's facts, guys. I'm like, bro, like, if you guys lose friends over political opinions, I mean, they weren't really your friend to begin with. And I actually hope I lose friends in some regard, because you don't really want to be around people that have these sort of negative connotations about the world. It's like, dude, come on, like, we're trying to make money, we're trying to get successful here. I don't want to be around a dude who's like, you know, like my old friends, you know, who were white guys. Okay, it's nothing to do with race actually, but you know, they were just like this shit mentality, just partying all the time, you know, insufferable, just bullshit, like just lying, you know, just stealing, talking shit about people. I want to be around positive, uplifting motherfuckers.
As long as your core values align, then why does who you vote for matter?
That's fine.
I've had people as close as my own sibling turn their back on me because of my ideologies.
Really?
We do not need to be attached to any party, to any ideology. We just need to be attached to the truth. Sometimes when I try to explain to people why I don't support BLM, and I show them the facts and I show them statistics, they try to tell me that that is just me being brainwashed and that I'm looking away from the bigger picture. But no, like, that is the entirety of the picture. Facts and stats do not care about your skin color. It's not racist to tell the truth. The focus on skin color to me is just so outdated, and it's just honestly tragic to me that people still think that it's so important. Every nation that you look at has injustices in their history, but when I look at America, I feel like we should feel privileged that we can look at our history and recognize, wow, like our country actually did something to right our wrongs and to right our injustices. And we are now the most progressive country in the world, but unfortunately, in many ways, we've overcorrected, because now people feel the need to critically find racism in everything. The Black community is not systemically oppressed. We are systemically depressed, and we're not prioritizing the principles that need to be put into the Black family household. Black people really do lean into pop culture a lot. It's a huge aspect of our community. That's why I think it's important for us to talk about culture and not just policy, because culture is often what influences policy, and it influences the way that we vote. So we do need to pay closer attention to who it is that we have on our screens, what we have in our headphones, and who we're listening to. We need to listen to positivity, to things.
I love that. Positivity is the first thing, guys. This is what I'm talking about. No matter who you are, man, listen to positivity. Listen to people that are going to help you get better in this world, man. You know, and obviously, you know, there are people that are racist and shit, of course, all right? But, you know, the vast majority of people just want to get ahead, you know, do well in life. You know, if you're around people that are just demotivating you, upsetting you, like, just, bro, you got to get a new circle, you know, honestly.
That motivate us, the things that make us want to be better as a community. The left had this history of making the Black community dependent on them and making the Black community just mentally enslaved for so many years. I knew that I had to speak up about it.
Man.
I'm much happier as a Black conservative. Someone once told me that I look like I've been so relieved and like there's so much less stress in my life now that I'm a conservative, and it's the truth. And if you are someone who speaks a certain way, you speak too intelligently for the people around you, don't allow people telling you that talking white is a bad thing. There's no such thing as talking white. That's a reflection of their own insecurities and their own ignorance. If you know what it is that you stand firm on, that is the most beautiful thing in the world. You have to lean into.
Yeah, that's great thing, man. Lean into what you love, right?
Your own core values. And if people criticize you, just know that your integrity and the message that you are trying to live out is so much more important than any pushback that you're ever going to get. And I would rather know that I'm standing on values and truth than knowing that I'm just going along with the narrative that people so badly want me to believe in.
Oh, that's powerful, guys. Don't let people just let you go along with their narrative just because they believe in something different, man. That's some BS, guys. Actually have integrity you know, hold your line, hold your stance.
So badly want me to believe in. Don't let someone tell you that because you're black that this is what you can and cannot do. You have so much more potential in yourself than what the media wants you to believe. It's like this crutch of racism that you never actually needed. We don't need to be put into this little category of this is how black people need to think. Our ancestors fought so that we didn't have to stay in that box. So why would we do them an injustice by continuing to allow ourselves to be mentally oppressed? We are so much better than that as a community.
Man, that guy motivated the hell out of me, guys. I'm honest. You know, same with being grown up, you know, less than, let's just say, lower middle class or whatever. You know, you definitely want to be not using that as a crutch. For me, I don't use it as a crutch. I want to get ahead as much as I can. Let's see what some of the comments say. It's not racist to tell the truth. Yes, amen. Thank you, Xavier, for your beautiful story. Huge respect to this man. This young man completely gets what Dr. King wanted for all of us. Shout out to Martin Luther King, of course. I'm proud of this young man. He gives me hope. Yeah, unreal, man. I love to see the powerful voices in this world, guys. I love you guys all. Drop a comment down below. Check out my Patreon for more unblocked, censored videos. I'll see you all in the next one, guys. Peace.